Hey folks, welcome to Pro Trader Strategies. My name is Eric Wilkinson and this is Spotting the Trade. So really what we're trying to do is get you what you need to know before you go. So if you want that information, make sure you're subscribing to our channel on YouTube, and right next to it there's a little bell on YouTube that will let you know when I come in unannounced. It'll give you a notification. So if you want that kind of information, make sure you guys click on the bell next to the subscribe button and smash that like button if you ever have that light bulb moment. And throughout make sure you guys are commenting because you guys drive the conversation. All right, so without further ado, let's get on with it. Economic data across the pond. We got not really a whole lot of economic data across the pond. We got German trade balance came in line with expectations. New loans pretty close in lines, maybe slightly lower than expected. But the real headline that we're talking about here in the United States is the unemployment claims. Now, we've been talking about these unemployment numbers where the hiring just doesn't seem to be happening. We're seeing the unemployment rate drop, which means folks aren't looking for that job. So that's why we're seeing that unemployment rate drop, despite the fact that we're not really seeing the hiring going on. Well, we're seeing that show up again in unemployment claims. Only 184,000 folks hired and 218,000 were expected. So less than expected hired. But we still see all of these job openings. That's what's really driving this disconnect here, is the fact that folks are really desperate to find workers, whether it is a laborer to a upper management. It's very difficult to find people that are willing to work. So are we talking about waiting for the supply and the demand of the labor force to meet? Well, that has to do with price. And a lot of folks are saying because we've seen all of this free money, folks aren't really willing to work for the same wage that they were before. They're kind of expecting a little bit more. So that's where the disconnect seems to be happening right now. Now, with all that said, what's driving the markets these days? It's uncertainty, folks. That's really what's driving this, whether it is the new omnivariant coronavirus, whether it is the economies globally. Are we starting to see some type of slowdown? Are we going to see a really good Christmas? Well, maybe not sizing up to where we saw before the pandemic right now. So that's a little bit concerning coming out of this, where we were really expecting the economy to be really working on all cylinders here, and seems to be falling slightly shy of that. All right. Anyway, there we go. So let's go on to the markets. We've got crude oil seeing some weakness here today with the markets. I don't know that anything's really driving this other than the fact that, we did get some crude oil inventories yesterday, and that was actually less of a drawdown than what was expected. We talked about that. That showed a little bit of weakness throughout the day off those highs, but we're still seeing some strength relative to that broader market move, even though we saw less than a drawdown than was expected. So that's a build. That means less people are utilizing that process there. Something that drew me off here is also prices of oil here in the United States, gasoline. Something that we're really seeing right now is folks from Mexico are shipping some of their oil up here because we have better refineries, and those refineries are producing less sulfur in their diesel. All right, so they're very diesel dominated environment down there in Mexico, so they're driving the demand of this lower grade fuel much higher, and in most cases we're seeing that even go higher than what we're seeing regular gasoline go for. So a lot of these drivers in the markets driving prices higher. There's a lot of levers and pulleys going on in the markets that people aren't really even talking about. Bonds making a move to the upside. I think that's because we're starting to see a little bit of weakness here in the equities, and we're going to talk about chart setups there where we can talk about swing trades. I'm always looking for opportunities for swing trades, so that's going to be where we're going to be focusing our attention for the most part. Now, if we're looking at this chart of Bitcoin, really sloppy in these cryptocurrencies here, folks. When we get charts that candles that start aligning like this, where we have all of these types of candles that we would normally look for in a move to the upside or the downside for that shift in momentum. Well, when they start stacking up on each other, folks, that really breaks down that setup. So with this setup right here, it is really kind of ugly. And I would almost say that we're looking at a continuation pattern here in Bitcoin, despite the fact that I was expecting us to hold on to the 50s here, it looks like we are going to go down to test about 4,400, 43,788 is my line for the Fibonacci's there. Now note that my Fibonacci high isn't quite marked up to the recent highs. That's marked up to the last highs that we've had previous to this, kind of creating those type of tweezer tops there, if you will. We can drop this back down, but this is what folks are talking about with the tweezer tops, if you will. Not quite quote unquote tweezer tops here, folks, but we are seeing that double top type of pattern there and the correction. So what we're looking for is a breakdown. It's probably closer to that 4,400 that I was talking about if I were to stretch these Fibonacci's back out to those levels, but my chart setup isn't the best here. As a matter of fact, while we're talking about it, let's just do it while we're doing it. Let's just remove this drawing and I'll throw up a Fibonacci. I don't think I have, yeah, I got the Fibonacci's up there. Let's just drop it there. I'm going to do this quick and dirty, folks. It's not going to be perfect, but we'll just try and get it lined up pretty close there. So I thought that would drag that up to about 4,400, but we're still slightly shy of that. So 43,800 is around the area we're going to be concerned about the market trying to hold on to. You can see there was some consolidation around that area beforehand, but that's going to be the line that you're looking for if you are a bull in Bitcoin. That might be the location to start picking up some as well. All right, VIX starting to move a little bit higher, because this is what we're talking about when we're looking at spinning tops like this at the top of a move. Very indicative of a possible top. No confirmation as of yesterday, but we're looking at a confirmation today. And if we settle below the low of the previous day, which if we look at that, we can see the previous day is 35,588. So anything settling below that 35,588 is going to look pretty bearish. As a matter of fact, you could almost call it 35,600, let's say. A settlement below that is going to make it look like we're starting to top out. Now, something else we were mentioning before this yesterday was some head and shoulders here in the NASDAQ. You could almost say that this is a bit of a shoulder here, a head here, and the neckline doesn't look quite as good on the Dow Jones here as it does in the NASDAQ, but you can see here a shoulder, the head, and forming another shoulder. And this one's looking pretty good because it's tweezering out at the previous shoulder. That's one of those things where we're looking for a real head and shoulders there. You can see I drew in the neckline here. Now, something to note here with this 50-day simple moving average trailing up, that it will act as support, folks, here. So the reason why is it actually will line up quite nicely with this line here. If I drew a line like this on that trend there, we could see that we could find support, because I think that 50-day will start trailing up along this trend channel here. All right, this lines up with some previous data that I have for the Qs and some folks like that, or some equities like that. So head and shoulders pattern starting to set up here again. We talked about this head and shoulders in the E-mini S&Ps before, coming down and tagging that. Not quite as pretty of a head and shoulders here. As you can see, we got a shoulder there, a bit of a head, creating another shoulder here. Neckline, it's not going to give me the neck trend line there. Let me just try and draw it real quick. Neckline here, and it's not a very good one because I'm just kind of doing it dirty, but you can see there, that line in the sand is looking like the neckline there. Let's draw that, change that color for you. All right, so we can stay consistent somewhat with those necklines there. But a retracement down to this level would be to complete that pattern there. So if that's something that made that light bulb moment go off, please smash that like button. What I'm trying to do is find swing trades for you folks out there that we can start peeling back this onion a little bit and finding some opportunities. We can see it's pretty quiet here in the mini S&Ps on the daily chart, breaking it down overnight. A little bit weak for the most part. Coming into today, I would say the risk is to the downside to complete that head and shoulders pattern there. Something I'm looking at for a swing type trade here as well is Netflix. You can see we've got that topping pattern right here. I'm looking at an opportunity in Netflix to retrace at least down to this level, maybe pierce the 590 area. So that would find support right here around this 590. That's that value area high. So if we're starting to roll over here, folks, that's a point that we would look for the market to come down and tag 590. So I've got a trade that I'm going to be setting up today for the webinar. Make sure you guys are subscribing, hitting that bell, and right next to the bell is the thing, or right next to the subscribe, I should say, is a little bell. That gives you the indication when I'm popping in here unannounced. But we also do webinars on Thursday after the close, and I'm going to be talking about an opportunity to set up a trade with Netflix based on this setup yesterday. We don't have a confirmation today, but I'm looking for this market to start rolling over, and that trade will work out quite nicely. So before you go, smash that like button, all right? All right. Gold, I just want to talk about this. It's migrating back up to the point of control. You guys remember I put on a long call spread with this trade, and I have a feeling it's just going to kind of peter out here at the point of control. So not a whole lot to see there. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Nvidia. Nvidia had yesterday a bottoming pattern where we are seeing most of these tech stocks make some moves to the upside. Bit of a pause here. Nothing really to see here. I would say that Netflix downside, Nvidia upside here, as this is an inside, even though that's a type of candle we would look for at the top or a bottom of a move, inside of a move, or especially inside a previous day's candle, really holds no weight whatsoever. So that's kind of a race. We're going to have to wait to see what the market action is today, but I would say Nvidia risk is to the upside, and I have on a bullish trade here in Nvidia as well. So I'm keeping an eye on that. That is on my long call spread 1x2, or the ratio call spread that we talked about last week. Well, I'm going to be doing the ratio put spread this week, and we're going to be talking about it around that Nvidia trade. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button on YouTube and the little bell right next to it for some of these videos that I pop in here when I see opportunities. Smash the like button if you had a light bulb moment. That shares this information with somebody else. That bot will run out there and find somebody to share that content with. And hey, I'll circle back around. If you guys saw me misspeak, for sure, throw it over there in the comment section. Let me know. And if you have any other questions, comments, or things that you want me to cover in these daily market commentaries, please let me know. And if you can't take that, take it easy.